Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Anta Shockwave 6 Pro. So apparently, there is a rumor going around that this was supposed to be the design for the Kai 1, which obviously it isn't. I don't know what changed, I don't know what happened with Kyrie maybe in his final decisions to actually make the Kai 1 the Kai 1. He probably didn't like the design, I don't know, but he also probably had a lot to do with the overall design of the shoe as well because he is a creative director over at Anta, I believe it was. So this is kind of like, what was supposed to be his signature shoe with Anta. So this is the Pro version. This is the regular Shockwave 6, and they did the same thing with the Shockwave 5. There's always a lot of versions of the Shockwave. So there's the Shockwave 5, the Shockwave 5 Pro, and then the Shockwave 5 V2. You guys remember that? So yeah, they did the same thing, the 6 and the 6 Pro. So this shoe is going for a lot of money. So it goes for like 185 to like 210, 220 bucks over at kicksown.com, which is where I got this shoe, as well as the regular Shockwave 6. This is actually a lot cheaper. It only retails for like 120 bucks. So if you do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave a link in the description box. So yeah, let's see if the Pro version is actually better than the regular Shockwave 6, because this is actually a really nice shoe for guards, like really responsive, lightweight, minimal, but still with pretty like okay cushion, you know what I mean? So anyways, let's get it started off with the Tracciones, and it's literally the worst traction that I've tried in the past couple years. Really freaking bad, right? So when I first got it, it was terrible, right? And it's been really dusty out here. It's been super duper dry. There's been a good amount of fires out here in Cali. So yeah, it hasn't been the cleanest on the basketball courts that I usually play, right? Even the well-kept ones were actually a little bit dusty, right? So of course, that does suck, but I was trying a lot of other shoes. I was testing a lot of other shoes alongside the Shockwave 6 Pro, and also I took the Shockwave 6 just to make sure, like, is it really just a 6 Pro like being really bad, or is it because it's just so dusty, right? So I took other shoes, of course, like this, the LeBrons, the Tatum 3, and some of my backup shoes, like the Big 3 5.0 Quick Pros, the Sabrina 2s, and I was trying to see how the traction was, right? Is it really just the 6 Pro being terrible? And yeah, it literally was the 6 Pro being just terrible, right? So you do need to break it in, right? So once you break it in, and you need to break it in for a long time, that's why this review took quite a while, because I really wanted to make sure that the traction, like, is it really broken in? Is it getting better? It got actually a little bit better, right? So if you're playing on a really clean court, then it does get progressively better. But the stop still isn't top tier. It's just like an okay bite. It's not even solid bite. It's just okay, right? So I give that even like the bite on a clean court like a 6 or a 5 out of 10. It still wasn't that good, right? Also, the squeak, which has nothing to do with performance, it started to squeak a little bit, just a tiny bit more, but still not super squeaky. And the Shockwave 6, this is really squeaky, has a top tier bite. Like, you literally stop really hard on a clean court. So I don't know what they did with the rubber compound, but they changed it up and it's just terrible, right? So clean court, it gets a little bit better, but still not great, right? If you need really good traction, obviously stay away from this shoe. But if you don't need like crazy good traction and you're playing on a really clean court, then it's gonna be okay, right? But of course, dust. Dust is terrible on this shoe, right? And even no matter how much I would wipe, it would still just slide out, and it would slide out a lot, you know what I mean? So I would wipe like all the dust off, and I would get one or two okay stops, and it would pick up dust really quickly again, and I would be sliding around all over the damn place. And I actually hurt myself a good amount because and I just really didn't want to play in this shoe because I was sliding around so much, even on dusty court, right? And then of course I would switch into like a better shoe, or like a shoe that had better traction, and just be so much better, right? So on dust, it's terrible. I guess for durability, I don't know, guys, like, it doesn't even seem like it'll be that much better than the regular Shockwave 6. Like the 6, they're using Duratrack rubber. Yeah, that's what it says on the tech specs. It's just like from Chinese websites, so they all say something a little bit different, for all their tech specs on all the different Chinese sites. So sorry if the tech specs are a little bit wrong, but yeah, the rubber is way harder, the grooves are deeper, and a lot thicker than the Pro. So yeah, that was the Achilles heel for this shoe. Like, the Shockwave 6 Pro is terrible for traction. And yeah, I mean, it's made for Kyrie, so I don't know how they messed up on traction so bad. I guess the one good thing is that there's a little bit of an outsole curvature, right? It's rounded just a tiny bit, and you have more rubber coming up here on the medial side, so you get better kind of better grip when you're doing these types of movements, but again, like the traction sucks and the rubber compound that they're using sucks, so you would still slide out versus the regular Shockwave 6, which had, look at this, it just sticks, right? The 6 Pro, it doesn't stick, it just slides on my table. So yeah, terrible traction. Now moving on to the heel to toe transition. Overall pretty dang smooth, right? So here in the heel, we got a nice rounded shape, and we also have like an exposed kind of foam for the midsole, which is a little bit better in my personal opinion comparing to the Shockwave 5, which was just hella cage, had all that plastic. This, you get a little bit more compression. It's kind of soft here in the heel, and then coming here into the forefoot, we got a nice curved shape as well. And we have a nice bit of forefoot flex, but also a really nice rebound back, right? So when I put a little bit of force into it, you know, I do need to, you know, force it a little bit, and I can feel a little bit of tension there, you know what I mean? And then it has a nice springiness to it, unlike the regular Shockwave 6, which is a little bit more just flexible, not as much springiness. But it's still kind of nice here in this regular Shockwave 6, but this is a little bit springier feeling, which of course is way better in my personal opinion, because it does have a carbon fiber midfoot chain plate. I'm not sure how far into the forefoot it goes, but it definitely does have a little bit more springiness to it, which I do like. So very smooth for the shape, and then a little bit of springiness out of the forefoot, which feels nice out of your first step, as well as kind of like doing heel dominant strides down the court, which that felt really nice, right? And then moving on to the cushioning setup, so it definitely is a little bit of an improvement from the regular Shockwave 6, right? So as far as the foam goes, this is using full length N2 foam, but this one, I thought it was using full length N2 foam, right? But it says N2 Pro, and I don't think I've ever seen this on like an Anta shoe. Like if you look at the Shockwave 5 Pro even, it doesn't say that. It just says N2, but here it says N2 Pro. It's probably a little bit different for the foam and like what properties it has as far as like what chemicals they're using to make the foam. But either way, it's not super duper nice, especially comparing to like the Shockwave 5 Pro, because the 5 Pro was really nice. It had a good amount of compression and bounce right underneath your foot, whilst having really good court feel, right? So the court feel is pretty much the same in both of these shoes, and they both have really nice court feel. You're pretty much right on top of the ground, which feels great, right? But what the 6 Pro does a little bit better versus the regular 6 is the step in comfort and underfoot cushion, because of the struggle board, right? So if you look at the regular Shockwave 6, we have a regular kind of insole, not super nice, and then like a pretty stiff strobe board. Like once you break it, it gets a little bit softer, but still like not that nice, right? Here in the 6 Pro, the insole is really thin. It's like really trash, you know, but you don't really need a really thick or plush insole because of the soft mesh strobe board that this shoe is using. So if you look at in the heel as well as in the forefoot, I mean the midfoot, you can see the carbon fiber midfoot chain plate, right? Oh yeah, I guess it does go a little bit into the forefoot, but not, it's mostly here in the midfoot area, right? But anyways, if you look at the forefoot as well as in the heel, you can see the N2 Pro foam, and when you press it, it's actually quite soft, right? But for straight up step and comfort, right? Like I'm not that heavy, right? So when I just put my foot into the shoe and I'm just kind of like walking around and standing around, it's actually a little bit stiffer, right? Because of course, I'm guessing it is a thin foam, so it's not super plush like the Kai one. The Kai one is a little bit thicker, it's a little bit higher up off the ground, right? So here in the 6 Pro, the step and comfort isn't as nice, which kind of sucks, but the underfoot cushion is nice, because when I start going, when I start playing, jumping around, sprinting, I can definitely feel my foot going into the N2 Pro foam a little bit more. There's a nice little subtle compression and a little bit of bounce, which felt really nice, right? So I feel like it's a really nice kind of like responsive and also thin foam, which gives pretty good underfoot cushion, right? So I liked it, you know, once I was playing it. When I was just standing around and not really going too hard, it was just kind of like a little bit of a stiffer cushion, you know? And of course, here in the midfoot, like I said, we have this exposed foam, but it's not the best for, you know, heel compression. Overall impact protection is okay. I would say it's really good for how low to the ground you are, but overall impact protection is all right. So yeah, I think it's a really great cushioning setup for guards, and I definitely think it's a little bit of an improvement compared to the regular Shockwave 6, but for the price difference, like $80 is not worth it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's that much better. So there's the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper, I think, is a little bit of an improvement in quality and also in how it feels, right? So the one thing I like about the regular Shockwave 6 is that it's really thin though. So that feels really nice, but it's not like the 6 Pro is like super thick or anything, you know, but it definitely is a little bit thicker. It's also a little bit stiffer feeling as well. feels a little bit more kind of like glued down, but it's not. I don't think it's glued down. It's probably just because of the embroidered material here, but it definitely feels like it'll be a lot more durable. Feels a little bit more supportive as well, and better for quality, like I said. So I do like the 6 Pro a little bit better in terms of like the overall material, although I do like the regular 6 because it is a little bit thinner, right? And then here in the midfoot area, we have like a synthetic material going around. We're kind of like covering the material where the eyelets are, and same thing here in the 6 Pro. It kind of adds a little bit more rigidity to the overall upper, which is of course great. It gives a little bit more support, right? For the tongue, it's around the same. We have like a nice bit of padding. It's not super well padded, but it feels pretty nice and cozy on top of your foot. And it's a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, I really do like it, right? So we do have a heel tab, which is way better than the regular Shockwave 6 because I really didn't like this. It kind of curves in, and we do have foam, right? But on top here is really stiff. You see that, right? So like right here is really soft, and then once you get on top, it gets really stiff, and it kind of curves inward a little bit, right? So when I was you know, sprinting and jumping and stuff, this would kind of dig in to my Achilles a little bit, and that felt really uncomfortable, right? But then here in the Pro, they actually have a heel tab which kind of curves outward, and also we have a very nice Achilles pad, right? So it's a singular Achilles pad, has a good amount of foam. It feels really comfortable right around your Achilles, and also where your ankle bone is, improves the heel lockdown as well. So I really like that. We have this plastic for basically like an external heel counter that kind of goes into the midsole. And also the most striking feature about the shoe, which is this kind of like foam that kind of comes up, and also this is plastic, and it's basically like spikes. that kind of, it looks kind of weird, you know. It's a little bit different from the regular Shockwave 6. It's a little bit different. It's not protruding out as much, it's not spiked. So yeah, I do like the 6 Pro. I definitely feel like the quality is still pretty dang nice too. Now moving on to the fit. So the fit is a little bit long, so I went true to size for both of these shoes, and this one, the regular 6, fits me better for length. You know, my toes go pretty much right to the edge of the shoe. The 6 Pro is actually a little bit longer, just a tad bit, you know what I mean? But it wasn't a huge deal because it is a really snug fit here in the toe box, as well as it being slightly narrow. So because of that, I didn't really mind the extra length, right? But if it was a little bit looser, I wouldn't like the length, the extra length as much. But because it is a snug fit, I don't mind it as much. Of course, if you have like a really skinny foot and you want a really snug fit, especially for length, then go down half a size. But I feel like most people, you should be fine going true to size, although it'll be a little bit long for length, right? And if you have a wide foot, I don't know, if you do go up half a size, it'll be like a good amount longer. So just be careful with that. I probably wouldn't recommend this shoe for wide footers, right? And now moving on to the support and lockdown, I had zero issues. This is a really supportive shoe, right? So for lateral containment, I was good to go. This overall material is really supportive, right? Doesn't really stretch at all. We do have the foam coming up a little bit, acting as a sidewall. And then of course, here in the midfoot, it comes up a lot more. And then here in the heel, we have this external TPU heel counter, which of course is really good for, you know, keeping your heel in place too. So lateral containment, your foot is not coming out of the footbed at all. And also, because of this kind of like stiffer material, it kind of adds a little bit of thickness and rigidity to the overall material here in the midfoot area. It kind of adds like a little bit of structural support to the overall shoe, which the shoe is really nice, right? So lateral containment, you're gonna be good to go. And even if you are a bigger dude, you should be fine, right? Also lateral stability, I was good to go. You know, you have a very, very wide base. You can see how much it protrudes out here. So lateral stability was good. And again, I didn't experience any type of heel slippage. So the overall support and lockdown was really good for me in this shoe. It's just I did not feel quick when I was playing in the shoe, right? Which we'll get into in weight. So the overall weight of the shoe, if I remember correctly, was a little bit lighter than average, I think, right? Yeah, 11.75 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.75 ounces. So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So it's a little bit lighter than average, which of course is a good thing. Let's compare it to the regular Shockwave 6. 11.1 ounces. So the 6 obviously is a little bit lighter, probably due to the upper. But yeah, 11.7 ounces is still really light, right? So it feels very minimal. It feels lightweight on foot. And it feels very responsive in terms of like the cushion. You have really good court feel. You feel low to the ground. It's very supportive, right? I really liked everything about the shoe besides the traction. And of course, you can't feel responsive if the traction is really bad. And like if I was playing on a really clean court, it was okay. even then, you know what I mean? Like, I still didn't feel super responsive because it still wasn't the best bite, you know what I mean? And then when I was playing on a dusty court, I just could not play in the shoe. So yeah, that definitely does suck, you know. I wish the traction was way better. And now moving on to the ventilation, not the best. You know, there's not a crazy amount of airflow through this kind of like textile material with all this embroidery. So yeah, not the best for ventilation, but it's not super hot either. And then as far as the aesthetics go, it looks okay. I mean, all the colorways that are coming out, I don't know, the colors, it's just too much for the design, in my personal opinion, for like the embroidered part. So yeah, I think it's just too much. And the overall design, it just looks weird with the spikes too. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this shoe definitely is an improvement in terms of like, you know, the upper quality. You know, the cushion feels just a tiny bit better. And also, if the traction was top tier, I still would have a hard time recommending this shoe over the regular Shockwave 6 because of the huge price difference, right? Like $80 is kind of insane, you know what I mean? Or even like 60 bucks, you know, 120 to like 180 bucks for the cheapest colorway for the 6 Pro. But yeah, it doesn't have good traction. So because of that, I just can't recommend this shoe to you guys. It's just terrible. You know, I was just like sliding around all over the dang place, like even more than the Tatum 3s and also the LeBron 22s, which pick up a lot of dust. So yeah, I really wanted to like this shoe, and I really wanted to, like, you know, play in this shoe a lot more, but it's just the traction just would not get good. So I can't really recommend it to you guys, unfortunately. And of course, like I said, the Shockwave 6 is really, really nice, especially if you're a guard. So definitely don't sleep on the shoe, and just get this shoe instead of the 6 Pro. But anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Anta Shockwave 6 Pro. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave a link in the description box, but probably just get the Shockwave 6 or the Kai 1 or the Kai 1 Speed. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.